But I want to just maybe I want to touch upon your investment in OpenAI. In 2019, it was you've been known for contrarian bets, but this was way out there contrarian.
We wrote a $50 million check. And when we wrote the check, we also sent an apology letter to our LPs saying, sorry, we're making this investment. It doesn't make any logical sense. It's a non-profit, no product plans, no business plan. I love making those bets.
So freedom is the ultimate promise of AI, and it's just people free to live life, and that becomes a new normal.
Who wants to work on an assembly line for 8 hours a day for 40 years? That to me is slavery. It's servitude to survival because you need a job. Those are not jobs with human dignity.
But what does it mean for someone who is going to college now? Why go to college?
I think the only reason to go to college is
Vinod, welcome to SparX. I've been waiting for this conversation for a long time. You may not recall, but I have been to this office a few times. I've met you in different contexts, and
yes.
was good to see you at the ECA event as well. I want to start with I'm in Valley for last few days, and I come here often, once or twice a year. But the pace seems very different now. There's so much action, and a lot of it seems to be concentrated in San Francisco. You've been in Valley for last 40 odd years? Does this feel different, or?
It definitely feels different.
Mhm.
There's a lot of activity, a lot of genuinely good startups, but also a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that combination has resulted in velocities that are very, very high.
Yeah. In one of your talks, you mentioned there, and I think it's I guess fairly obvious. Also, there are only 3-4 very deep model companies now, in US at least, and then maybe there are equal number in China. Do you think most of the innovation is concentrated inside this company, and there's a delta between what the companies outside these companies are able to do?
No, I think there's a lot of innovation outside these companies, a lot going on, at least in this area. Like every day there's a new idea that's worth considering, if not funding. Result of which, the best way to understand Silicon Valley today is of all the unicorns, 91% are in the Bay Area. The rest of the world combined accounts for 9%, which is pretty stunning. The second highest
This
territory,
is all unicorns, not AI unicorns.
I think it refers to AI unicorns, but the second highest is New York with 2%. So it's even the number 2 is largely irrelevant.
Yeah.
And so the action is here. Almost all the innovation is here.
And see, if you look at any AI company today, the engine of all AI companies, obviously the inferencing, which is powered by one of these companies. What is the nature of innovation outside? But I want to just I want to touch upon your investment in OpenAI. In 2019, it was you've been known for contrarian bets, but this was way out there contrarian. If you recall your thinking in the discussion, what convinced you? It was not even clear where OpenAI is going to be for-profit company, non-profit, yet you wrote a pretty large check.
So I wrote a check that was twice the size of the largest initial check I'd ever written. Because I don't like writing huge checks.
Yes.
We like very small checks. So I'd never written in 40 years a check over 25 million initially. Later on, we'll add additional money. And we wrote a $50 million check. And when we wrote the check, we also sent an apology letter to our LPs saying, sorry, we're making this investment. It doesn't make any logical sense. It's a nonprofit, no product plans, no business plan. It's just a technology effort. But the idea was very simple. So today, that letter is sort of a funny thing. And I should probably tweet it. It's so funny nowadays in retrospect. But what was very clear to me is when you get AI, it'll be very consequential. So it wasn't when we would get AI. It was when we get it, whenever that is, whether it happens in 2 years or 10 years, didn't matter. It would be very consequential. So the bet was very much on the very large upside if you were successful. And that's our kind of bet. I love making those bets.
And then each bet has to be, I guess, two parts. One is you were convinced that AI, whenever it does happen, will be very consequential. But this particular company, because when you're dealing with so much uncertainty, almost no precedence, and almost no clarity about timelines, picking a team versus the other also has to, there's probably some method behind that.
Absolutely. You judge the team. I thought this was a very good team. We were very confident in the team. But there weren't also a lot of companies around. There was Google, OpenAI, and Baidu maybe as a Chinese company. So there wasn't a lot of AI efforts. It's not like today.
And there's this whole thing about opportunity meeting a prepared mind. I know you've been talking about AI for a while, including, I think, 2012. You've been talking about AI doctors and so on. So is it almost a case of you were looking for something like this and you happen to eventually, I assume you must have gotten to know.
I was absolutely looking for it. There's some important areas of technology that I tend to like to identify and say, we should, if we find a great startup, invest in it. By the way, same year, it was 2018 that we committed to OpenAI. It closed in early 2019. But same year, we invested in Fusion. Nobody was expecting Fusion in the next 30 years. Yet we placed that bet, and I think it looks pretty good today. So, I like unusual bets. We also placed a bet that year in public transit, which is also not considered a venture area. So, I think around then we also invested in hypersonic aircraft. That was also unusual for a startup to be doing hypersonic aircraft. So we're not afraid to place large bets. We tend to be cautious about how we guide them so they don't run out of money, because some of these areas become very difficult. But I'm always trying to say what will be hugely disruptive 10 years from now that people aren't expecting. If everybody's expecting it, then it's not interesting.
But it has to be at the sweet spot of people are not expecting it, but it should, at least on average, should become real in next 10 years. Because if, let's say, OpenAI bet, if you were to place the same bet in 2009, the story will not look that great because there's finite lifetime.
No, look, this is the hard part of venture investing, is guessing when you will have breakthroughs, when will large changes happen. So I'm always looking, like everything I look at is between 2030 and 2035 and say what can be consequential.
And this philosophy as a venture capitalist, or I guess you would like to call it a venture advisor, it's been a work in progress. You've kind of honed it over a period of time by seeing a lot of different patterns. Like, what is the backstory behind doing it this way?
So I like to differentiate from people who are investors. They have to run spreadsheets. We never run a spreadsheet on rates of return. So rate of return calculations are just mostly misleading in our business for what we do. Most other investment firms use it.
It's misleading because of the artificial mark to market that you...
Well, it's not artificial mark to market. Mark to market in private markets is always artificial. That's not the real issue. What the real issue is, you can't predict these things. If I said to you, OpenAI will have no revenue in January of 23, but January of 26, it'll have 20 billion, you'd say I'm crazy.
Right.
So sometimes it's better to realize you can't forecast instead of trying to make a forecast and then using it as a basis for calculation. You just say it's not possible to forecast.
See, today AI is obviously very impressive. It can do a lot of things, and one can also argue that we are not fully exploiting what's possible with AI even today. But a lot of the AI investment, they're now, I think, close to $1 trillion of capex, which is being spent this year and perhaps next few year, every year. This is also assuming the scaling to continue for next few years. Is that you almost take it for granted? Now we have hit an inflection point. The scaling will continue because it can also stop. The asymptote may play out, and this may have implication for the whole journey unfolds.
If you look at the 5-year journey, could you have 10 times the amount of inferencing? Absolutely. There's demand for that.
10 times more intelligent? Like, what's the metric?
10 times more inferences than we do today. Could you see 100 times? Possibly. Depends on the price decline.
And you're not commenting on quantity of inference, not quality of inference.
No. Just the number.
Yeah. Got it.
Sort of measure it in tokens produced. Now, the intelligence of each token will also go up, which is the quality aspect. So I suspect we'll see continuing increases in the number of tokens, almost exponential. We'll keep seeing large but more modest increase in the intelligence per token, which is human intelligence delivered. And we'll see pretty rapidly declining costs per token. And if the costs decline, the demand will be there. I'm pretty confident about that.
But is any of this contingent on newer breakthrough? Or
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think there's a set of breakthroughs we can forecast pretty easily because we know how to get there. If we scale X or Y, we know scaling laws apply. We know certain cost curves of silicon and other things. You put all that together, I don't think any massive breakthroughs are needed. I consider things like memory in AI systems, continuous learning in AI systems as sort of routine things. Again, a question of when it'll come along, not if. And the bigger question is when they come along, how good are they? How good is the continual learning? How good is memory? How well can it be utilized? So I think those are predictable. I also expect we'll see unusual phenomena in AI, the progress that we aren't planning on.
Unusual good, unusual bad, we can't say.
I think mostly unusual good. There will be some bad things for sure.
I want to bring the conversation to health. I think in around 2016, you wrote this paper. I think it's called something like 20% Doctor, which was about the role of AI in medicine and ubiquitous, world-class doctor available to everybody in their mobile phone. In fact, incidentally, 2016 was when I started my second company, and it was a health company. We wanted to solve for holistic lifestyle across everything from fitness, food, and marrying to primary care. Most of those things didn't work out. Fitness worked out very well. So today it's a very large fitness company. But the dream of that AI doctor was, at least that time, we couldn't pursue. But fast forward 10 years from now, you think we are much closer to now that vision of where everyone having access
there's
to...
no question. Even 5 years from now, you won't need a human doctor. Other than in interventional medicine, that means like surgery and heart surgery or things like that, or burn victims or broken bones. I think 5 years from now, the expertise involved in a doctor is almost completely already in systems. I no longer consult doctors. I fractured my wrist last week, got an x-ray, sent it to ChatGPT and told me what to do. Now, I had to have a real surgeon. I called the surgeon. He, like any surgeon, he said, "Can you come in for a consult?" I said, "I don't think I need it. Here's what ChatGPT told me." I sent him the exact comments from ChatGPT. He said, "This is exactly what I'd tell you, so you don't need to consult. We'll go directly into..." My first time I met him was in the surgical theater. And it worked out. And since then, I consulted on every question, like, can I do this, or can I do that, or when will the cast come off, or when can I put pressure, or it's a much better, I would say it's at least as good a doctor and a much more accessible doctor. I can ask it a question at midnight and I get an answer within 5 minutes, as opposed to waiting multiple weeks for an appointment. That's possible for every person in India today. And one of my pet projects is to get that going and deliverable in India as a nonprofit effort within the next 2 years.
And why does it need to be a new effort? GPT already is available in India. They have, I think, pretty wide distribution. In fact, one of the largest user base for GPT, as you say. I also, consult GPT, my first protocol for any health issue, and I'm pretty happy with the outcome we get. Why does it require separate effort at all?
I think this is misunderstood. The safety requirements for AI are much, much higher for some areas like health than in others. So today, if you consult ChatGPT, the general triage error rate will be 20 to 30%. That means you get the wrong answer 20 to 30% of the time. Now, humans are pretty bad at triage too, so you have to be careful. But when you add a health-specific system, and my son has a company that does that, but they use GPT-5, but layer on things on top, the triage error rate goes to 0. Much better than human beings. And so I think in all these areas, if you're talking about national defense or healthcare or financial trading, you want to use these large models. All of them are essential. They're necessary but not sufficient. You need additional things or various levels of insurance.
So this is not about making AI better with further scaling. It's about building enough guardrails and checks and balances and human
Those kinds of, every domain is a little bit different. You need different things in different guardrails. But yes, we know AI systems hallucinate. And it's not been easy to reduce hallucination. If you're doing customer support and you hallucinate somebody's bank balance, that's a problem. So there are special systems that'll ensure that the systems don't hallucinate and still use these systems, but with the extra guardrails and safety, whether it's financial or healthcare or other critical areas.
And these additional systems are more deterministic rules-based systems. They are not additional inference to
They're not rules-based systems. I think rules-based systems are too hard to do and manage. They're just better, different techniques with different trade-offs.
Right. Got it. So maker, checker, and probably multiple checks, but they're all inference-based systems that are layered together in some way.
So that's why there's opportunity in application areas too.
Right. And this is, I'm just thinking about now India healthcare, since you mentioned, we have a massive public care healthcare system. There are, I think, if I'm not mistaken, hundreds of thousands of doctors work there. So one possibility is to co-opt them in some ways to be the human layer.
Yes. Whether you need a human layer or not, and for what, is an important question. And I think each human being every citizen in India will make their own decision. Obviously, if an AI is going to tell me I got cancer, I might prefer a human being to tell me that than get a text message. But different people may prefer different things. Others may say, hey, tell me as soon as possible. Text is fine. I don't want to wait 1 week for a doctor's appointment to learn that. So different people will prefer different things, and I think human preference will become a big part of how we use AI systems.
Yeah. What does education look like in this? It's a both. Maybe let me ask you from two-part question. For a grown-up person, someone who's in his 30s, 40s, 50s, probably I assume people need to learn a lot of different things and perhaps unlearn. And then similar question for someone who is coming of age now, how should they think about education?
So I spend most of my time today
Yeah.
at age 71 learning. I'm learning new subjects. If I'm interested in fusion, I learn about fusion. If I'm interested in biology, I learn about biology, cancer drugs, whatever I need to learn, I can learn now. So the opportunity for 30 and 40-year-olds and 50 and 60 and 70-year-olds is huge as far as learning, and it's almost all free. So that's the big advantage.
And when you say learning now, is mostly going to GPT and just finding out the right resources from there and then follow them?
Yep, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I often have long dialogues with GPT on a subject. Yeah, even a typical. How do you design a much better drone motor? I've not designed a motor in 50 years, but I can still design one with GPT today and say, I understand the basic scientific principles and I know how to apply them, and I'll do these exercises. I'll say, how would I design a cancer drug for this cancer? All those are available and possible.
And this is something you said, this is something one can do or one should do.
Well, that's each person's choice.
To survive and thrive in this, the new world.
To survive and thrive, you have to do it. Right? If you don't want to keep up, that's fine. But I'll give you the best example. Most people in the software business know GitLab as a company. He was one of our founders. We invested when there was 4 people. Became a big company, public company, and then the founder got cancer. And if you look at his history, he basically decided very quickly he wouldn't talk to doctors. He would essentially design his own cancer treatment. And he got deep in, he learned everything from scratch as a software person. And did his own cancer vaccines, cancer drugs, custom drugs for each stage of his cancer. He wasn't given that long to live. He's alive and well and healthy now, and doing even more drugs for what he might need as cancer drugs in the future. So if a software engineer can do that, and you don't need a medical degree, that's the world we can live in. We can choose not to or choose to live there. I find it very, very inspiring.
Yeah, this is an incredible example. Does he talk about this publicly?
Oh, he talks about it. In fact, he's given a couple of talks it's called Going Founder Mode on Cancer. It's a beautiful talk.
I'll ask you for introduction. We'll try to invite him on this because this is this ultimate example of what someone empowered by AI and the right mindset
with no knowledge can do.
Right.
Just general intelligence.
Right.
And, you don't have to have a degree to have general intelligence.
But what does it mean for someone who is going to college now? Why go to college?
I think the only reason to go to college is to learn how to learn, to learn curiosity. Why do I work 80 hours a week? Because I have curiosity about so many things. I asked ChatGPT, what do you think of all my searches over the last couple of years? It freaks out because it says, you've been all over the map. You're learning about cancer, you're learning about fusion, you're learning about designing motors, you're learning about, various AI algorithms, just everything. Even gardening. I learned so much from ChatGPT about gardening, my own garden. So you go because you learn how to learn. You go because you learn curiosity. And by being active and online, and this may be the single most important thing, you get agency. You feel like you can do things. I think that's the difference between founders and non-founders. Founders have agency. instead of looking at a problem and saying they should do this, which everyone says, founders say, oh, there's a problem, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll solve it. So that's founder mode.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter if I know about it or not.
Right.
I'm just going to go start learning and attacking the problem.
Yeah.
So agency becomes very important to learn for both a 5-year-old and a 25-year-old.
So perhaps it has a huge implication for how schools and college cultivate this curiosity and agency, because a lot of it is about teaching you something what's in textbooks and being able to repeat it back in exams and so on. And that's how the whole system works, and people become very good at it. But that's not exactly fostering curiosity and agency.
No. And I think universities need to change. I was at IIT Delhi in February. Myself and Sam gave a talk, and then I was talking to the director. And he was saying, we're going to expand the university. This is what we're going to do with classrooms. And my answer was completely irrelevant. Do you think any of the students in our audience today will know more than the AI in their area of specialty? The answer is obviously not.
Right.
Right. So what should you do with IIT Delhi? I said, open more dorm rooms to have more students.
Yeah.
Have more meeting rooms, not classrooms. Have places where people can gather and discuss things and debate things and do the learning at home and come back and discuss topics.
Yeah.
So there is a role for universities, but it's not the old role. It's not lecturing out of textbooks. Those can all be thrown away. They're all obsolete anyway, because the world keeps changing, especially in technology areas like engineering every day. You can say, how do I design a new magnet without rare earths?
Right.
You're not going to find it in a textbook. You're going to find it on ChatGPT and then pursue trails and build a little model and then experiment. We have people doing things like that.
Yeah.
The country doesn't have rare earths. Can we not depend on China? Do our own.
Yeah.
The answer is probably a small group of people could solve that problem.
Yeah.
That's called having agency if they choose to go do it.
Yeah, and I want to just underline that I've very often noticed that sometimes I stop myself from asking the question, but if I do ask a question and engage with any of the AI models, it leads to a totally new trail and you didn't realize it's possible. So then having that agency and somewhat courage to act on it, just, like this founder you mentioned, just trying to figure out his own cancer situation with AI, it will not occur to most people to even attempt. And a lot of this promise of AI, Vinod, today everything is in some ways digital medium. There's all mostly text-based. Yes, can process some image, etc. But majority of both input and output is text with some translation. Where are you on the whole this physical AI aspect? AI.
Physical AI is coming in the next couple of years. We'll have the ChatGPT moment of physical AI. I've tweeted a bunch about it. So I don't think there'll be an issue with robotics, say, in 5 years from now.
Can you envision what does a ChatGPT moment can look like, or what are the possibilities where we say this is becomes relevant to all of us?
I think when you can put a robot in your home and can cook your meals, that's a pretty stunning point. Obviously, there's lots of industrial application, but a robot in your home.
And these look like humanoid robot, not specialized arm or
most likely humanoid. I think there'll be multiple specialty form factors, but humanoids will be the largest form factor by a lot. And because they'll be the largest form factor, they'll have the most scaled manufacturing and they'll have the lowest costs. So you'll need auto manufacturing like facilities to make large scale, very low cost. Cars don't cost that much more than the cost of steel.
Right.
If you look at it, because the value add is so automated and so scaled that it's very low overhead.
And if we play out this exponential growth and impact of AI, then the world will be unrecognizable.
I think 15 years from now, the world will be unrecognizable. A 5-year-old kid today will grow up in a very different world by the time they're 20 or 25.
But it has also implication for our social, political, economic structures. Also, they can't just hold up the current
Yes.
because in some ways today, if Anthropic has gone from nothing to $1 trillion valuation in 4 years, and it seems Google is now 5 trillion, probably most likely going to be a $10 trillion company in next few years. So it seems like in the benefits today are getting highly concentrated. While there's some innovation outside, but the most of the benefits seems to be flowing in a very, very small areas.
I disagree with that. I think the question to ask is 95% of the population better off?
Mhm.
Not what's happening with the 5% who are making all the money.
Yeah.
And that is happening. There's concentration of wealth.
Yeah.
And technology has always resulted in a concentration of wealth, and there'll be more nonlinear.
Yeah.
But if we stop worrying about the few percent and say, will 95% of the people be better off in 2040?
Yeah.
Absolutely, no question.
They will be better off because they are making more income in their jobs, or they will require some redistribution, very proactive.
No, because they
affordable.
have access to services.
Yeah.
If they need education, it's free. If they need healthcare, doctor, it's free. If they need legal services, it's free. If they need more entertainment, it's near free. Hopefully, even food and others will get cheaper because of robotics.
So I don't need to make 100,000. Even if I make 50,000, I have dramatically better lifestyle possibly. If
My bet is we'll have a very deflationary world before 2040, and prices will decline very dramatically for most goods.
yeah,
A few things that aren't done by robotics or have other physical constraints will be more expensive. But we'll have, for today's measure of GDP, which is defined as a basket of goods and services that we measure today, that basket will become much cheaper.
Yeah. And I think some of the forums, you have argued for that it will at some point require some government ownership for.
I think there's many different systems possible. Each country will adapt its own.
Yeah.
Likely the US is very different than India, is very different than Germany.
Yeah.
Some people will resist AI, some countries will, and it depends on the politics in the country. So it's very important for a country like India to show the benefits of AI to people first.
Yeah.
Free doctors, free teachers, free agronomists, so every small farmer can worry about it, and the price of input goes down.
Yeah.
And so they see the benefit before they see the asymmetry. So there will be more asymmetry.
Yeah, and for India, I guess there's additional challenge of figuring out that this whole our IT service industry and BPO industry, which is a huge source of foreign income for the country.
That business will be gone. There may be new opportunities in deploying AI to the planet because India has an advantage in learning how to deploy AI.
Yeah.
Very few of the companies are doing it today.
Yeah.
But if they do, they'll be in good shape. If they don't, they'll be in very bad shape.
What are the examples of that? What can India develop at scale, which can employ millions of people and participate heavily in deployment of AI?
Yeah, it's a complex area. I've written a piece about it earlier this year for AI specific to India.
Yeah.
So I'd refer you to that. It's
Sure.
about 20 pages long.
I'll go through it.
So it's a fairly detailed look at what we'll do. But, the basic things people need, health, doctors, education, entertainment, food, those should become much, much cheaper. Housing is the one area that's troubling because that needs to scale and still mostly depend on materials costs, not so much labor.
Right. Yeah, I guess if you have physical AI and really cheap humanoid, so probably the
but
material
cement will
costs.
still cost like
cost.
cement costs,
Right.
and hopefully we can do something about those, scaling
Right.
those things.
Yes, cement also I guess is mostly energy cost in some level. So
Yes.
if energy becomes cheaper, then I guess you'll have more options. And where in this whole in the quest for solving for energy for an AI, space has become a factor now. And you have, I think, you've been investing in space as well with the rocket lab way back, I think 2012, 13, so on. Have you are you convinced that space has a role to play as for in this data centers to support massive compute infrastructure?
Look, I would say data centers in space don't make sense today. But there's certain cost parameters, like transport cost to space for a kilogram of weight, things like that, that could make it more cost effective. Are factors of 10 possible in cost reduction? Yes. And if that happens, then the equation might change. But with today's increase in today's costs and even normal declines in costs, data centers in space haven't seemed to make sense. But I don't rule out larger increases in decreases in cost. And if that happens, then assumptions will change around data centers in space.
If we apply your framework of what will be feasible by 2035, which side of bet today you will take? The space-based data centers a big part of our life or unlikely?
I would say unlikely only because the cost on Earth will decline very rapidly.
Got it.
Once you have fusion, you don't have a power generation problem, for example, by 2035. So if power is dirt cheap on the planet, then why go up in space? Why get the inflexibility of fixed infrastructure that you can't change quite as easily as walking into a data center and changing a GPU that failed?
Right.
Suddenly GPUs will have to be pretty different because this radiation is not healthy for semiconductors. Power generation in space is hard. Cooling in space is hard. Now, there's possible solutions to each of these problems.
Yeah.
But if you're lucky enough to get the improvement in all those dimensions much faster than cost decline on Earth, then space centers may make sense. Today, I'd bet that data centers on Earth make more sense.
Got it. And I think
and they will decline rapidly in cost, and power will not be an issue.
Yeah. And hopefully, I guess we'll start to get some data back as well in next few years with all these plans of various companies to have at least some experiments going on. So maybe in 2-3 years, we'll have some more evidence start to pile up as well. And what is the process of looking at it? And maybe we can discuss it in the context of fusion, because fusion, even today, most people don't believe is going to be realistic, the net gain from fusion over next 5 years. I think this is an area I tried to study last couple of years. In fact, I was looking for a possible investment in India. We have few fusion startups, and maybe I'm guilty of, looking for consensus and not outlier belief, but pretty much anyone you will talk to even today, they think it's not happening.
And that's the key. I don't talk to experts. Experts are experts in a previous version of the world, not the one you're trying to create.
Yeah.
Like, that's the key to remember. If I get 3 teams to look at fusion and all 3 agree, then it's probably not an unusual bet. It's consensus.
Yeah.
If teams disagree, then it becomes more interesting. So it's hard to explain this process. I think we do a pretty good job of judging where technology is going.
Yeah.
With probably 70% accuracy. And then we make a lot of mistakes, but we are not afraid of those mistakes. So we've made our fair share and never afraid to be mistaken. But, when you're mistaken and you make the wrong bet, you lose 1 times your money.
Yeah.
But when you make the right bet, you make 100 times your money, then it's worth placing.
Right.
And that's our paradigm. If OpenAI was successful, we should make more than 100 times, which we will. But that's always been my approach. Most people are afraid to fail. I like to say my willingness to fail is what gives me the ability to succeed. I'm not embarrassed when I fail.
Yeah.
And so I don't worry about it. If you write every investment off the day you make it, then you only have upside. Same is true of Fusion. There's a $1 trillion company in Fusion to be had. Most people, you say, don't agree it's feasible. I think at this point, there's greater than an 80% probability in 5 years, nobody will be debating Fusion works and Fusion works economically. My bet is in 2 years, people will say Fusion works, and 5 years, people will say Fusion works economically, because you have to pass through both gates. And once it's economic, it's the source of energy for the whole planet. And by the way, there's other sources. Super hot geothermal is another one I'm very excited about. I think it can be cheaper than natural gas and oil as a source of energy, both fusion and super hot geothermal.
Okay,
That means geothermal above 400 degrees centigrade.
let's talk about both, but I want to double click on fusion. I'm trying to get to your process and way of thinking. Let's take fusion. There are two ways one can look at. One is macro. We obviously know fusion works. We can look at the sun and know it works. But there's so many competing platforms, and to really get into nitty-gritty of fusion, different technology and so on, you need to be fairly technical in nature. Do you at Khosla Venture employ consultant, or maybe it goes against the philosophy of consulting expert?
No,
is it like a macro bet, or is like looking at technology has now reached these many gates and readiness, therefore it might be realistic in 5 years?
No, I think we look at fairly detailed look. Obviously, we employ experts from time to time, but most of our gut call is ourselves. We are pretty technical. We can make these calls. So more expert diligence is confirmation rather than decision. The question you have to ask in something like fusion is, why now? In 2018, what has changed that would say it's not possible before, but now it might be possible? And that was high temperature superconductors. And that dramatically changes both the experiments you can run and the rate at which you can run them, and also the economics. If you can use high temperature superconductors, which was the big risk to build in 2018 to build a 20 Tesla magnet. If the magnet is 4 times more powerful than what was possible before, your reactor is going to be 1/250th the size.
Right.
It suddenly becomes much more feasible to experiment, try things, build things. It doesn't take 30 years to build. It takes 3 years to build. And so everything becomes faster. And that was the bet we placed. And that's the kind of thing we look for. Every time there's something on the horizon that others don't believe, that we have to believe, and then find the right team. Finding the right team is very key. When I met Bob Mumgard, he was a senior fellow at the MIT Plasma Fusion Lab. I was just visiting because I like techie, geeky places to visit. And he showed me this reactor where before I stepped on it, the temperature was a couple of 100 million degrees, 30 seconds before. And now you can step on it. Pretty cool. And so I like geeky things. And we got talking, and the more we talked, the better I liked him and what he was thinking, and said, let's build a plan. So that's how that came to be.
Got it. So a lot of, I guess in this case, I probably bet on the person as well.
Bet on the person for sure. Bet on the technology direction. What is feasible, what's not. That's a risk assessment. Mostly, I will do my own risk assessments, and other people in our firm are very good at it too.
Right.
So together as a group, we can do that.
Yeah, one of the things when I try to study fusion, one thing is coming up that what about fission? We have not really exploited full power. We have so much uranium, thorium, and so on, small modular reactors. Do you also look at this, that world need a lot of nuclear energy? It will be great to have a lot of our energy, especially now with the power energy that AI needs to come from nuclear process one way or other. Do you think about fission as well, or fusion is something that once it's solved, is obviously we have infinite.
Once fusion is solved, there's no need for fission.
Yeah.
And fission has a different problem, at least in the West. Nobody wants a fission plant in their neighborhood.
Right.
So fission technology is not hard.
Yeah.
It's possible to do fission technologies, and even like the thorium reactor India has been working on, which is a very good idea. But my view is very simple. If after you decide to build a plant and have the technology, you're going to have 10 years of lawsuits, well, nothing's ever going to pencil out. So you have to spend a lot of money before you know somebody will let you build in that neighborhood. And if you're building 5,000 plants for the United States, it just doesn't become feasible.
Right.
So you have to look at the world holistically and say, the politics will not allow fission to have 5,000 reactors in the US or 5,000 in India. India will need more than 5,000.
And is there a risk that same politics will also try to at least create some hurdles for this massive data centers, which are going to be energy guzzlers and which are absolutely essential for this?
Yes and no, but there's solutions.
Yeah.
A number of the data center providers are saying for everybody in the neighborhood of a data center will pay free electricity for residential purposes. It's a small tax on their energy consumption. You know, if they're doing a gigawatt and they give 50 megawatts of free electricity to the neighborhoods, people are fine. So there are solutions. You can also develop your own reactors, whether they're super hot geothermal or fusion or nuclear. You can do your own, so you're not tapping into the grid. So there are solutions. But it is a political problem, mostly because people haven't worried about the politics.
And given the current conventional source of energy that are available, next 4 or 5 years of AI acceleration, is energy likely to be a bottleneck, or it's where we're okay?
I think energy is likely to be a bottleneck the next 4 or 5 years. Why? Because 4 or 5 years ago, we weren't thinking about the problem, and nobody thought it was a big problem. Nobody believed AI would be a large consumer of electricity. Nobody forecast that. And so nobody prepared for it. I think there's a lot of preparation for it now. And so I think 5 years from now, it'll become less of a problem. But it takes 5 years to build a power plant, maybe longer. And so in the early 2030s, enough power will come online, enough capacity, enough turbines, enough alternative sources of energy. I think it's a short-term problem. It's a 5-year problem.
Got it. I want to bring the conversation back to AI and what's possible with AI. And that's the agency, I guess, you're talking about.
This is the agency idea.
Right. Vinod, I think we're nearly out of time. On the just closing note, I want to really zoom out and the big picture question about how all of this pans out in the longer term. One scenario is with this whole, let's say, the entire promise of AI is fulfilled. There is, abundance. Where are you on this whole so-called notion of singularity that Ray Kurzweil, and I think you've been to one of the Peter's, event.
I take a practical view.
Yeah.
If I look into the 2040s or 2050, it is possible, in fact, very likely, if we have the right government policy, that the need to work to survive for a living will go away.
Right.
People will still work, but work on things they want to work. Not things they have to work on because it's the only job they have. Who wants to work in a field doing farm work in 40, 50 degree heat?
Right.
Who wants to work on an assembly line for 8 hours a day for 40 years? That to me is slavery. It's servitude to survival because you need a job. Those are not jobs with human dignity. I think those jobs can disappear and people can work on what they want to work on as they want to work or get good at singing, artists, you name it. Sports, competing. So many things to do.
So freedom is the ultimate promise of AI, and it's just people free to live life, and that becomes a new normal, and hopefully whatever next for humanity, space or beyond, I guess, will play out.
Let me say, and I say this in a piece I wrote 2 years ago, I wrote a piece, Will AI Lead to Dystopia or Utopia? That was on AI in the Western world. I wrote a piece earlier this year for India. I believe AI will ultimately free humanity to be human beings, not servitudes to survival. Survival has been the goal of every species till now.
That's an incredible message and something something to really look forward to. Vinod, I want to thank you for taking the time for this podcast, as well as an incredible career and impact in the world through all your investment and also inspiring so many VCs as well as entrepreneurs. And I think you've had a very different way of doing things, but this track record speaks for itself. So I think talking to you is very inspiring. I'm pretty sure our audience will be inspired, and hopefully it will foster more agency in more people to really embrace the promise.
I hope so. I was inspired myself learning about a Hungarian immigrant coming to Silicon Valley to start Intel. That inspired me and got me on the entrepreneurial track. So I hope more people get inspired.
Thank you, Vinod.
Thank you.
At SparX, we aim to bring to you stories of exponential impact. We share in-depth analysis of what goes behind success stories. If you find our conversations interesting, you can join us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. You can also listen to SparX on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or any other audio platform of your choice. If you have any suggestions on who we should invite or what topics we need to cover, just let us know in the comments. We are always listening, looking for ways to improve, and keep getting better as we go along.